Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Trong. I started this channel and the website, The Patient's Story, after my own cancer diagnosis. I was just 31 years old. I remember feeling incredibly alone, and everything that was online that I found made me feel worse. And that's why I wanted to create this space. It's a space for you to let you know that you really are not alone. Whatever you're going through, the details may be different. No one person has the same exact experience, but there are others who are also going through the hardships and the heartache. And I think that a lot of the suffering that happens these days and when we feel that we are by ourselves. So I am so glad that you found us, that you're here. Whether you're someone who's just been diagnosed with cancer, worried about getting a diagnosis, caring for someone else who's going through it, or just honestly anyone who's wanting to feel an authentic connection to other people, welcome. I'm kicking off a new video conversation series because I really believe in the power of sharing, of the real, the authentic, no frills, and embracing that because that's what makes us so great. For the first episode, it's really my honor to be able to introduce one of my incredible teammates here at The Patient's Story. Her name is Taylor, dedicated and passionate beyond measure, young and healthy, used to also be in TV news like I was, until she felt a lump in her neck. And for many, many, many months, doctors told her, "You are young, you are fine." I think at some point, Taylor realized it doesn't feel fine. And so she advocated to get everything checked out. And a couple weeks later is when she got the news that it was cancer. So I hope that our conversation between two people just sharing our experiences resonates with you out there. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you get the first alert on our new content. And let me know what your experience and your stories are down in the comments. I look forward to hearing from all of you. All right, now to our conversation. Joining me today, I'm so excited to introduce someone who many people may, be familiar with on our channel, Taylor. Taylor's on our team at The Patient Story, an amazing leader. And Taylor's joining us for not so great reasons, but I am so grateful that she's coming on to share her story. So, Taylor, do you want to share a little bit about yourself first, of course, outside of the cancer diagnosis?
Stephanie, thank you so much for the warm welcome. So crazy being on this side instead of being the one guiding the conversation. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my amazing husband, Justin, and our dog, Sage. She is our world. She's our chocolate lab. We love to hike. We love to be outdoors. We love to camp. I'm originally from Illinois, a really, really small town. My high school graduating class was 30 people. And so I'm from a very rural area, and I'm so grateful where I grew up, though. I have amazing friends and family back home. I've lived away from home for a long time, so that's been an interesting part of navigating my situation. My mom is a colorectal cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in November of 2023.
Taylor has been someone who's led so many of these conversations with people, with patients, caregivers, care partners. And, the first personal touch point in joining The Patient's Story was you introducing your mom, Kelly, to the process. And she shared her story of going through colorectal cancer. And I'm so grateful again to both of you for being so open about that.
I've never gotten a call back to go get a colonoscopy, and here I am 3 months later after being diagnosed stage 3 colon cancer. So that's a little frustrating because nobody would take me seriously until I went and got another opinion.
You may see that Taylor has a scar right here, just around, yep, and that her voice sounds hoarse. She doesn't normally sound like that. And so, I was on a work trip actually, and then, got like a late text from Taylor, and that was, of course, not usual. And so, Taylor, just walk us through what was happening at the time.
I'm sitting on my couch. My husband's cooking dinner. I get into my chart, and the first thing I see is oncocytic carcinoma of the thyroid gland. I immediately shoot up. I'm crying. My husband is like turning off the burners in the kitchen because I just bluntly out loud go, "I'm pretty sure I have cancer." And my husband is just like, what? What do you mean? And that word carcinoma, I know what that means. And I don't know if before starting at the patient story and dealing with my mom's diagnosis that I would have known what carcinoma meant. And so, because I am educated, because I'm privileged to work for such an amazing company where I'm learning so much every single day, I knew carcinoma meant cancer. We immediately came to this very spot right where I'm sitting. We got on my laptop, we started researching, and the word oncocytic was a word I had literally never heard. I'd never seen, heard anything. We start to Google, and that's where it began with my diagnosis.
Ah, wow. Yeah, there's a lot there, I know. When I got the message and then I got on the phone with you and you told me, first of all, I mean, it just took me right back to that feeling of, wait a minute, what's going on, right? And cancer and all the things. And of course, my diagnosis was years previous. I mean, I was diagnosed back in December of 2016 into January 2017. So it's been a minute, which I'm very grateful for. But it really, no matter how long the time, I remember that feeling of like, what the hell just happened? And so, can you describe what it's like to, at your age, so young, your husband's there, like, what was hitting you in that moment about your life? Like, just what were the thoughts and the emotions?
Yeah, I already have tears in my eyes thinking about this answer because when you work for an amazing organization like the Patient Story, you're hearing these stories every single day. You're writing scripts and you're creating this beautiful content. The underlying thing is tragic, and that is a cancer diagnosis. And so I would be lying if I said I never thought I'd get cancer. I've definitely thought it. And you become just so much more aware of your body and the feelings that you're feeling and going to the doctor and getting your checks, getting your women health exams when you're listening to these incredible people every single day. And then when your mom goes through it as well. So I was shocked, but when the dust settled, I wasn't that shocked because cancer can happen to anybody. And so being so young, I had just turned 30. My husband and I just came back from this incredible trip to Puerto Vallarta that he planned for my 30th birthday. We looked at 30 years old for me, and this year was going to be filled with amazing trips and celebrating friends that are getting married. And, we're doing all of those things still, of course. But in that moment, I just thought, what are the next 6 months going to look like? I'm such a planner, as Stephanie knows.
What? No,
We're shocked. We're shocked.
shocked.
Um, and I just kept thinking, like, what is this going to look like for me? And then the unknowns started. That started the spiral of like, how do we know for sure that it's all gone? But really going back to the emotional part of it, it was devastating for my husband and I. Like, we have heard cancer a lot in our families. So cancer was not new to us even before starting my job. But it was still just heartbreaking, devastating. How could cancer be growing in my body for 3 years and I not know it? Because I found the nodule 3 years ago. And so it was a really, really hard moment. But because of my husband and his personality and how just fun and outgoing and level-headed he is, it didn't take me long from the initial spiral to come down and realize this is not going to be my whole life. This is hopefully going to just be a moment in time that was really sad and devastating, but we're going to look back at the beauty of it.
Yeah, that is so beautifully said. Thank you, Taylor. What I'm hearing you say is a few things. And by the way, I think this applies for people outside of cancer diagnoses. It's like anything in general, but definitely with healthcare, something that is about your body, maybe feeling like I've heard people, including myself, talk about betraying us, in a way. And you have the initial shock. There's a lot of sadness. Then there's a lot of like, how did this happen? Um, and then for you, what I'm hearing is that you were like, okay, well, now it's time to tackle this. This is not going to be my life. This is one thing that I'm just going to like look at and get through. Right. And one of the things I know you really exemplify, and I think you did before you started here and maybe even more so now, but this idea of self-advocacy, which we hear so much about, for you started really early on because no one was really that concerned about your nodule except for you. And I think there's a message in there. And what is that message for other people?
Yeah, that message would be, you know your body best, and you know like how comfortable you are with something inside your body or making a decision. And for me, when I found the nodule, it was after my 27th birthday. We had just karaoke'd all night. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Oh, me too. Let's go karaoke.
Yes, please, please. We have a karaoke machine. Just come to Spokane. And I immediately went to the doctor, got blood work, got an ultrasound of the lump, and from there, it was really my choice what I would do with that information. So I continued getting my yearly exams, getting full blood work done. And last year was when I was like, okay, this is getting bigger. People are starting to notice it. But at that point, I was like, oh, it's been a year since I had done it previously. Why not get it done again? So I started the process all over. Routine blood work, ultrasound, did that. And then I just wanted to get it out at that point because it was really large. It ended up being 5.7 centimeters. So I advocated to get it out because I knew that was the best choice of action for me. It was also something my mom was telling me, maybe you should just get it out. Like,
Yeah.
was scheduled for surgery in January. My insurance referral did not go through in time. So the morning of that original surgery in January, I'm on the phone with my ENT and they're like, well, you could just chance it. And I'm like, chancing a large medical bill without the correct referral?
Right.
And my husband's in the military, so I knew
Yeah.
there's a little bit more hoops to jump through with that type of insurance. And so I was on the books for April. It just automatically got pushed back 3 months.
I remember, getting told that this might be cancer and then being like, but it's probably mono. And I was like, what, mono? And then it was like, but you need an ultrasound too, one here, one here. And I got on the call to get it scheduled. And they're like, we don't have an appointment for weeks. And I'm thinking, you can't tell me that there's this thing and that I have to wait. I mean, there's some things that are out of our control, but you see the system we're working with and the unexpectedness of being like, how come I'm the only one who's concerned about this? Did you feel that?
Yes, I definitely felt that. And that's been the whole thing over the last 6 months of seeing the ENT, getting the surgery scheduled is, why is there no sense of urgency behind this? Every time I've seen my ENT, she's so busy. And when I had my follow-up for my surgery, it was not her, it was her PA. And it continued on past my diagnosis. Like, okay, first of all, I find out through my chart, which is a story I've heard, unfortunately. And every time someone I'm talking to tells me that story, instant goosebumps, instant just feeling what they're feeling through the screen. Then it was, okay, your case is going to be presented to the tumor board. And I want to make sure that I'm explaining what a tumor board is correctly. So Stephanie, please help me with this color. But basically, when you have a unique case like mine where We thought it was benign for 3 years. The mass was 5.7 centimeters. And then on top of that, it is a less common subtype of thyroid cancer. It's being presented to the tumor board. Well, they only meet once a month. So, and it was at the end of the month when this happened in April. So, wasn't going to be until a month for the tumor board.
This idea of waiting for your appointment, waiting for insurance to approve or not approve, waiting for a tumor board. For me, it was like getting a diagnosis on the phone and then being told by a family friend to, oncology is going to take forever at your large academic institution. So just go to the emergency department. So that's another tip, by the way, for people, is just to get into the system so you get seen and then they put you somewhere that you're supposed to be. But I was waiting to understand. I remember they did like so many, I had like biopsies and bone marrow biopsies and like lymph node extractions and blood tests upon blood tests. And then it was like the whole week in the hospital of what is it? Like, we know it's lymphoma. Is it Hodgkin or non-Hodgkin? Are we talking about, aggressive or indolent? Are we talking? So this period, and you're still in it. That's what I want to acknowledge, is you're still in it. It feels like there's still no plan of action. And I think for different people who are dealing with a diagnosis, that varies. Like sometimes it's very short and right away. For other people like you're waiting weeks to understand, well, what are we going to do about this? So how have you been able to manage the mental part of that, the waiting part of it?
It's so hard, honestly. And I have my good days, I have my bad days. More good than bad, which is good. But it's really just like about occupying your mind. And when I was diagnosed and I started telling my close friends and family, I think like trauma bonding, I think is something that is very powerful. I have some friends that I don't talk to every day, of course, but they're your best friends no matter what. You pick up right where you left off. So as crappy as this was to get this diagnosis, it gave me a chance to actually kind of get closer with some of my friends. That has been such an amazing distraction over these last, like since my diagnosis, is catching up with old friends, catching up with your family again. My dad is calling me so much more. Like he calls all the time in general, but like even more so now. My grandparents are reaching out like every so often. So I would say that's been one really, really solid thing. Then the other part has been my husband. Um, he has been my rock, of course, through this. Then we're super active people. So we went and bought really expensive bikes to get on the trails, stay active. And we're just trying to find ways to continue living our life. And for us, that is planning a trip. So sorry, Stephanie, in the next year or so, I'm going to be going on some trips.
No, 100%. And you should go out and live your life. 100%. No apologies. Like that's 100% what you should be doing. And it makes me so happy to hear that those are the steps that you guys are taking. So many things came up when you're talking about that. When you talk about trauma bonding, I'll talk about the flip side of some of the experience I've had too. But this idea that why do we need a reason, but we do? I love that I just automatically gave this like thumbs up. But like, people come from different places, whether you're close. I don't know if you've seen this, getting messages from people when they saw on social media about, about your news, your update. My friends started a campaign called like #SpicyStrong. And I think it's because when I was in my delirium, like when they put me under for the lymph node biopsy, like I had to go under full anesthesia. And I don't know if I was going in or coming out, but I was super loopy. And so I was like talking to like the nurse and I was like, I'm so spicy and strong or something. I mean, ridiculous. And then that just became the hashtag. And like they printed shirts and like it got to people and they were like posting on social media. Like this is making you remember a lot of things I actually forgot. But people people who were super close to me, people who I hadn't seen in years. And that is such a beautiful part of this, right? Is like the one of the silver linings of I'd rather not have this, but the fact that I do and people like are showing how much like they think about me. I mean, what was the most powerful? I mean, I know you had lots of people reach out, but is there one situation where it took you by surprise, or a message that came from someone you hadn't talked to in a while?
Yeah, there's definitely one example where, and I'm sure you can relate to this, being formally in the news, you bounce around all these towns and cities and you have friends everywhere, like I mentioned. And even when I just had the partial thyroidectomy, a group of friends in Denver, they sent me a care package. And that was before I even got my diagnosis. And so I was just so taken aback and just so thankful for them sending that. And so that was one thing. And then the other has been, again, I was in sports broadcasting, and I've heard from so many people from the little towns that I was covering, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And they're commenting on my post just saying, you know, we're supporting you, this community is supporting you. And that's just meant the world to me. And so those have been instances where it kind of stops you in your track. I don't know if you felt that way, but you're just like, wow, humanity is good. There is decency still, and there is a way to break through the screen. There's a way to break through the phone call, the FaceTime, the message. It's it's that. And so I'm not sure if you felt that same way in those instances, but it really stops you in your tracks and you're just like, wow, I have so many amazing people in my life.
Yes, 100%. It does resonate, Taylor. It's 100% humanity is amazing. These are the beautiful moments of humanity when people come out. And I think a lot of the social stuff might be, we are scared to, reach out to someone from before because we're like, well, what if they think I'm weird or they don't even remember me or whatever. And these situations just take us completely out of that, right? It's like, no, I care about this person, or I just want them to know that I'm thinking about them. And it's okay if they don't, reply, or all those things. I think that is beautiful. And I wish more of us more often could get to that. So I'd like to spend some time here, which
Yeah.
is that, people have different kinds of people in their lives. Some people have tons of friends, some people have a tighter circle, and all these things. I'll start with an example, which is it was a newer friend, but I'd known her for a few years at least, more of a social friend maybe. But when I was diagnosed, she kind of disappeared. And she was one of the people I actually saw more often in that time frame. A lot of my friends, to your point, scattered around the country, and so it was very disappointing, and it was really hurtful, because here I am thinking about my mortality, not sure about what I'm going to do, worried about my hair loss and all these things. I'm 31, and she just dropped off. And I just want to say this, not to, like harp on her as a person, but really to say, I think what I learned in that is whatever other people's reaction is actually not about you. It is, of course, about concern about you and what you're going through for the people who love you. But for any of the weird stuff or the things that might be surprising, I would just say, broad strokes, the reaction is about their own discomfort. They don't know how to show up. They do care about you, but they're worried about how they're going to come across. Maybe they think other people are like talking a bunch to you, and so they're trying to be respectful of you. Not right or wrong, but I do feel like that's something I'd want to share with other people who are going through something, because it can be very tough when it's unexpected.
What you experienced with someone dropping off, that likely is going to happen for me in the next 6 months or however long this process ends up being. But for my mom, she really experienced that. She was shocked by the people who she didn't hear from again, or they didn't show up for, she had a benefit. They didn't show up for that, or just a text message or a phone call. She was shocked by the couple of people. And you don't forget those things. But I
Yeah.
think it makes you become a better human in a way. And it
Yeah,
makes you check up on your people a little bit more. That's how
totally.
I'm trying to spin it, at least.
Right. I think it's good to understand that if it does, though, that it's normal and it's not about you, it's about them. And the other drop off, someone had warned me when I was just going through it, and she had gone through the same cancer just 6 months before I did. And she said, "Look, I'm actually struggling with now that I'm done with treatment. People are like, you're fine now." And then like the medical help drops off, and then the support also, because it's like, well, you're all good. And so that's another conversation for another day. But I think my point is that at different parts of this, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm past this now. There's different versions depending on where we are as patients, as people supporting other people, that these same emotions can come up or these same situations can come up. I also want the chance to drop in this video so my best friend in New York, like she flew out with her husband. And at the time, I had to give myself blood thinner injections every day. And those are freaking large. Like,
No, thanks.
I did do IVF shots too to freeze embryos at the same time. So I had to do like the little needles and then like the spring needles for the blood thinners. And it was oh my God, it was terrible. And there's a video of like the way they supported me was trying to make fun sometimes. So
Yeah.
like the song that goes like shots, 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 shots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are moments for sure where it's like this is me getting loved on by people who are trying to lighten the situation for me in the way that they think might be helpful. So anyway, I think that's awesome. I also, you talked about your mom, and so I want to ask about that. Maybe I know other people may not have the specific example where it's like their parent also went through a similar diagnosis, but in terms of other people's reaction to when you're just like telling people, what was that like? Like, what's your guidance to other people who feel like there's an extra layer there, whatever reason it is? For you, it was that your mom had gone through her own cancer recently, even. But for anyone who feels like there's an added pressure in making sure the other person's okay, like, what is your guidance there?
Yeah, I would just say the biggest thing is give yourself grace, but also do it on your own time. That is so important. Like, yes, there's pressure to tell people and update people and do all the things. I totally get that. But do it on your own time. You, and I also think what helped as well is I just, I'm a very factual person. I'm blunt. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. So I think it was my messaging to them. These are the facts I know. I don't really know anything else. And then I think that helps with them asking a bunch of questions and them, you know, like deep dive spiraling. I think it just is about giving yourself grace and giving the situation grace and not feeling like you have to always be giving updates to your friends and family or talking to them, or it can take like a day to respond to someone. And my friends and family know that. They know that I'm very busy. My husband and I, Justin, we live a very active life. We are always doing something. And so, yeah, I think it's also like if you get a text message, don't feel like you have to respond right away or call them back or anything. This is on your own time. And that goes beyond just your friends and family. Like, I've heard this so many times from people that I interview. You are the CEO of your life, of your body, of what you do. You are the leader of your own life. And I think that's just so important.
I agree with you, Taylor, 100% of the give yourself grace. I think in life in general, we could stand to hear that more often anyway, right? We give other people the compassion we don't give ourselves. But on that note, to give yourself grace and to not worry as much as you can about the other person's reaction. You don't have that space to carry that burden, so don't. The tip on the other side I would give to people who are looking to support patients, because I've heard that a lot, right? Like, oh my gosh, my friend, my family member was just diagnosed. Like, how can I support them? I think in terms of messaging, I would always lead with whatever, if it's an email or a text or whatever, or a voicemail, no pressure to respond. I just wanted to da 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 da. And that just takes off the pressure. So you get to send the message and you're letting them know, I get that you're super busy and you're occupied and I'm not trying to take away your bandwidth. Another tip would be people ask about like, what can I send someone who's just been diagnosed with cancer? I'm going to ask you about this too, so you could brainstorm. But I've often been like, if you can figure out if they know their treatment, I would base the care package off of that. So if you know that they're going through radiation, you can look, and we're going to create this online at the Patient Story too. We have some guides at thepatientstory.com, but is to really look at what that modality of treatment is, and then try to send stuff. So I've sent like organic lotions to people because they were going to get really dry skin, blankets because one of the side effects was going to be feeling really cold, things like that. So I don't know if there are things that you feel like would be great advice for people trying to help people dealing with the new diagnosis.
Yeah, you made such a great point. Blankets, things like that. But then I also think like anything that the person who's going through the treatment or diagnosis, self-care. We should just put self-care out there. Um, so yeah, if maybe it's organic products, or maybe it's a bath bomb, or of course, depending on their treatment, like we said. But for me, everyone knows I'm going through the waiting period. So I think a lot of people were like, how does she want to relax? And so face masks and bath bombs and electrolytes and different things like that. So I would say anything that you can think of that person likes that is self-care. Books, a journal. You can never have enough journals. Something to preoccupy them too, whether that's like a coloring book or, um, crossword puzzles. Not that I do any of that. I'm not going to lie. But if you know that person
Right.
enjoys that kind of pastime,
Right.
or maybe it's like, this is old school, but a CD with their favorite songs on it, or takes you back to
You know what a CD is, Taylor? No, I'm just kidding.
Sure do. I
Sorry.
had a CD player growing up. Yes, or if it's like a Spotify playlist.
Right.
And I also think too, when it comes to what you could give that person or send them in these moments, is it does not have to be elaborate. The small stuff actually means more. And so maybe it's a Spotify playlist. Maybe it's a $15 Amazon gift card. Maybe it's a gift card to their favorite restaurant, the self-care food. We love that. My cheese curds from Dairy Queen.
No, I love that. It's the small things. It really is that thought that counts, saying it really is true. I think there are a couple of things that came to mind too, and then we'll wrap this conversation, which by the way, I've really enjoyed having with you. I think one quick note is if people are like right now you're waiting, you're not in the hospital. I know when I was waiting and I was in the hospital for a shorter period of time, the nurses at one point said, don't send flowers, or we're telling people like, don't send flowers. And that's for when people are immunocompromised. So the knee jerk sometimes is like beautiful flowers, but just to make sure. And the other point that happens to matter both in terms of support, but also in terms of you were talking about messaging and not having to respond to text messages right away. What was helpful for me was to designate people who knew the information. And if other people needed to know or wanted to know about the diagnosis or where I was in that specifically, they would go through those people. Inadvertently, I ended up, it's funny, we both were on TV before, but we're also very private people actually. And I never imagined that I would bare my soul online or continue to have a presence after my news career. But I had a blog, and the initial point of the blog was it just helped. It was cathartic to get stuff out on just journaling essentially. But then it was well, two things. If I can help other people not feel alone, and also then it helped in terms of people getting updates without me having to constantly. But then that slowly became cathartic as a storytelling mechanism. And by the way, we'll have like the storytelling. You could share yours. There's the prompts below in the description. But for you, Taylor, what has it been? This is my last question to you. What has it been like? I guess, how did you decide actually to want to share? I didn't even realize you were going to share your story on social, and it happened.
Yeah.
But like, what drove you to want to do that? And what has been maybe like the most cathartic part of the process, especially a message for people who do feel like, I'm private, I don't think this is for me?
When I decided to share it publicly, I just wanted people to know that we say it all the time, that they're not alone. They might be going through anything and they're like, wow, this person feels just a little bit like I do. And that's what keeps people going. And so, behind sharing my story and trying to keep people up to date, it's hard to explain. I just wanted people to know that everyone is going through something. That is a big part of it too. Social media, if you look at my Instagram, you will see my husband, my friends and family, my dog, and you're like, wow, that girl lives a really good life. And I do. We live an amazing life. But behind the curtain, behind the social media, I'm going through something that really sucks. And I'm still finding ways to navigate that. So why not be open about that conversation? Let people in. I have a big tribe. I have a lot of people in my corner. I'm so thankful for that. But those strangers, the strangers that come to you. Those are so impactful. Just the little comments of, wow, like, I thank you so much for sharing your story. I've had so many people say, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's not even about the cancer. It is about making sure you are getting your physical exams, that you are getting your women health exams, your pap smears, your full blood work, whatever it may be. And then that's also reminding you, if you feel like something is wrong, go to your doctor. And if that doctor doesn't give a shit about you and how you're feeling, go and find another doctor. And if that one doesn't give a crap, go and find another one. So I'm getting really hyped up right now because I just want people to know it might take one doctor, 3 doctors, 30 doctors. I feel like people get so lost in how they're feeling and they don't know if it's something, if it's their life because they're really busy, or if it's something underlying. And so I just want people to know that it's okay to go to the doctor. It's really scary. I totally get it. I was so scared to get this surgery. And now I'm dealing with voice loss and I can't get my voice back. So trust me. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. But it doesn't have to be. Just keeping the lines of communication open with my partner, with my husband, with my friends and family. I just want to say this one part really fast. My mom and I, we are best friends. We talk all the time. But recently, we haven't been able to talk a whole lot because she's 2 hours ahead of me. We don't work the same hours, or we do work the same hours. So like, we're constantly working. We're not finding time to talk. And last night, I told her, I said, I'm sorry. I have not been able to call you. I just have been so busy. There's been so much going on. And she goes, it's okay. And I go, but it's not okay. She goes, I know, but I don't know what to say. And so there's that balance, of course, of like, she knows I'm busy. She's not pressuring me, but she just wants to have a conversation like this. She wants to just openly have the conversation. And we did talk today.
Yay.
And it was very therapeutic for me. So
Good.
open communication and just kind of setting up my phone and talking. But that's also because I've been doing that for so long. And I'm a storyteller by nature. So,
You are. You really are. And Taylor, I thank you so much for opening up,
of
being
course.
vulnerable. You are such an empath. I know you bring it to your life and also to work every day. And I'm so grateful that you're like part of the Patient Story team doing that. Yeah, for anyone who's, wants to hear like the tips that were part of this conversation, I think we can come up with something that, you can download. We'll put it into a link somewhere on the description, not at the time of this discussion, but after. And so Taylor, yeah, thank you. Thank you for being such an open book, and looking forward to being able to share more of your incredible voice throughout all of this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I'll just leave this here. We'll talk about it more, of course. But when I got my diagnosis, I didn't feel overwhelmed. And that's because, of course, in moments I did, but I didn't overall because of the patient story. And I've said this so many times to my friends and family and to people who I've told my story to when I'm interviewing them, because now I'm openly sharing my story, is that when someone gets a diagnosis, I never want them to feel overwhelmed. And I want them to have a place like the patient story where they can go and be like, wow, okay, I have someone, I have an organization that can support me. So when I got that diagnosis, I didn't feel overwhelmed. And I want other people to feel that way. And that's why I'm so passionate about our work at the patient story.
Yay, I couldn't say that better. That was amazing. Thank you, Taylor. All right. And this was like the first of many conversations that'll happen with Taylor, with different folks. Really looking forward to this. All right, great. So for the patient story, that's Taylor. I'm Stephanie. Gift yourself grace. Take care, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.